What is going on, everybody? It's Kevin Cote here, back again making some TCG content. It's been a long time since I've made some card game content. Took a break after casually being the R&D director at MetaZoo for almost 2 years. Got a little burnt out with card games, decided to come back, give it another shot. I'm going to be trying out Chronicles of Arcane, and I'm not gonna lie, I like what I see. So, here are my top 5 reasons to try out Chronicles of Arcane. So number 1, Chronicles of Arcane has familiar yet improved game mechanics. Basically a mixture of Magic the Gathering and MetaZoo, but I'm saying that in a good way. The MTG elements are the land system, which is basically essences in the game, fairly similar phase structure kind of system, and pretty similar keywords and aesthetics to Magic the Gathering. If you've played Magic the Gathering and you know the keywords of the game, those keywords should translate to Chronicles of Arcane. In terms of the MetaZoo aspects, and if you haven't played MetaZoo, it's also kind of similar to Hearthstone. There is direct attacks to creatures and also direct damage on creatures. So kind of like Hearthstone and MetaZoo, you have more than just the option of attacking the player. You can attack the creatures, damage the creatures, and destroy the creatures that way. Kind of like MetaZoo and even Yu-Gi-Oh! There is this Terra field spell like card that is called Domains. Domains are pretty good in this game. They don't have a cost to them, and they are pretty hard to destroy when they're already out there. In fact, there's not a card that directly destroys Domains in Chronicles of Arcane as of the base set. So the plus of having these MetaZoo and Magic the Gathering-like mechanics is that they are familiar, which means they are easy for players to pick up. If you want to teach your friends Chronicles of Arcane, you like the gameplay, it's very enticing to you, then you should have no problem getting them to try this game out if they already know some of the most popular card games that exist. That said, Chronicles of Arcane is also improving upon its predecessors. One noticeable improvement Chronicles of Arcane has is the Ancients cards. These Ancients are cards that appear at the beginning of the game, acting basically as a free land. With these cards, you're able to essentially stall out or negate Mana Screw, since everyone has one free land every single turn. And it basically changes the curve of the game a lot. These Ancients also provide good effects to help the players out, and usually these effects can be built around. You can have an entire deck playstyle, either mono build or dual build, based around these Ancients. What also separates Chronicles of Arcane from its other games is positioning. So in the game, we have front rows and back rows, and these row systems are actually relevant to the blocking mechanics of the game. You can put up creatures you want to defend in the back rows, and put up defenders in front rows. The front row creatures will actually defend for the back row creatures, which means you can put up squishy targets, mages, artifacts, or anything else you want to protect in the back row, and then put up some tanky guys or weak creatures to protect those more important targets. Additionally, I really like how Chronicles of Arcane doesn't have too wordy or complex cards. I generally like my card designs around 60, 50-ish words max. In general, a lot of the cards tend to be very concise, and even the longer cards are pretty straightforward to read. So I really like that from a cognitive overload design point of view. Reason number 2 to try Chronicles of Arcane is an established gameplay infrastructure. If you want a deck build, or you're interested in just looking at the cards for competitive play, there's an official card database. You can create and save decks, and in the future there will be rulings and errata of cards. In fact, there's already a couple of them right now. Early events and rankings of the game will also be on their official website, and it's all done via the app Cardio. If you want to make any kind of new card game succeed in today's era full of indie card games, having a card database is very crucial. And it has to be a card database, in my opinion at least, that you own and control, so people know directly from the source what are the current wordings and rulings. The fact that Chronicles of Arcane is putting money into a up-to-date database and having a ranking and leaderboard system is a really good sign that they care about the competitive players out there and they want to have a legitimate competitive scene. So I like seeing that. Reason number 3 to try out Chronicles of Arcane is they have a good foundation for the secondary market. Chronicles of Arcane is doing some things that are really good to maintain that secondary market value and sales going on. The reprinting for the base set has been confirmed on the Discord, and less reprinting means the cards retain more value in general. Now, there's some cases against this logic, but according to the rules of supply and demand, usually less supply equals higher cost of the goods. This is good because more trading and selling is potentially going to occur, especially as the game continues to grow in development. Additionally, the secondary market is beginning to establish. There's already a Facebook marketplace with about 100 members at the moment. And that may seem pretty small, but 100 for a new card game is pretty good, especially since right now it's a buyer's market. If you wanted to try getting into the game, buying a booster box for instance, which is sold out on the official website, it's not that hard trying to find a seller so you can get booster boxes at relatively good prices, at least for now. Additionally, Chronicles of Arcane has several grading partners, including CGC Cards, DSG Grading, Beckett Grading, and more. This is huge for collectors and investors. Any kind of graded material on the cards means those cards are probably going to increase in value. Chronicles of Arcane being connected to grading partners means they really do care about setting up for the future and long-term investing in the game. It means that they're here for the long run. Even after everything I said previously was favoring collectors and investors, in my opinion, there's a pretty good balance between the collectors and investors and the players, which is important to have in any card game. Each of the starter decks in Chronicles of Arcane has plenty of staple cards to go around. You got some draw support in all the starter decks. Starter decks also has a non-hollow and hollow version, so a playable and collector's version inside of the deck. Additionally, all of the starter decks has one ancient unique to that essence type, which is huge. It means that you don't have to go and find a hollow ancient. You can just buy a starter deck and have an ancient off the bat. The only ancient you can't get from a starter deck is the neutral ancient, which is the Foundry, and the Foundry is really good. That said, you can still get all the other ancients just from buying one of each starter deck, and that will set you up for the future. Additionally, the good cards tend to be rare, which is good for collectors and investors, but are only needed in 1 to 2 copies. So if you're a player, you don't have to grind out 3, 4, 5 copies of a card. That's really good. All you need is 1 or 2 copies of a card. Reason number 4, let's try out Chronicles of Arcane, is the community, at least from my point of view, is fairly friendly and supportive. The community is not that big, it's pretty small, but it is tight-knit. And it's pretty easy to get questions answered just by asking on the Discord. The interactions I've had with the community members are pretty nice. When I've been in the secondary marketplace, it's been pretty easy to get deals here and there on booster boxes and other cards I'm trying to get. And additionally, the staffing team is pretty receptive. The Chronicles of Arcane team is relatively small, but it's mostly housed by Ryan and Trek, aka Blackfish. Those two are pretty active on the Discord, and usually if you send them a ping, they will respond accordingly when they're available. Any kind of active community engagement from staffing is really good in my opinion, since it shows that the staff cares about the community needs and community communication. And the last reason you should give Chronicles of Arcane a shot is they have iterative and patient future planning. In my opinion, a lot of card games have not succeeded because they have not adequately planned for the future. Usually they rush things out, or they don't have a timeline that they're sticking to get certain products out and to get them out as soon as possible. The Chronicles of Arcane team is really taking their time with the product. They've only had one set released this year, which was their base set, and that was also found on Kickstarter last year, and they only have one other set announced for this year after the base set, which is coming out in fall, which is called Nexarian War. And that set is also smaller with about 30 cards. It shows that the Chronicles of Arcane team is focusing on quality over quantity of the products, and as a consumer, we want to see higher quality all the time if possible, assuming we can get the product on time, which seems to also be the case. Additionally, the Chronicles of Arcane team looks like they are learning from the quote-unquote mistakes that they have made in the past. They have received some criticism about their AI art on their base set. However, they are continuously moving towards real artists towards their future sets. They have the original artists that were on the base set, at least to my knowledge, as well as taking on established artists, primarily from MetaZoo actually, Poncho, Seb, Michael Peckham, and Jet Yates. And of course, shout out to all of them since I used to work with them as a coworker. So, hey, I'm very glad they are working on a card game still. And additionally, the Chronicles of Arcane team is iterating by evolving their gameplay design. It's been confirmed we will be seeing better wordings of cards in the future for better clarity, a continued focus on balance of the game, and of course, being open to a ban list and or formats possibly in the future, depending on the state of the game balance. This is very important. Any game that says they will not have a ban list or will not have any type of rotation or format or any type of way to affect the game balance post the cards are made is not very good in my opinion. It's always possible for members of R&D or just playtesting to have a couple cards get away and of course determine the format in its entirety, and it does justice to players if you're able to have some type of ban list and or formats or rotation to balance the game in post. As in physical card games, you aren't able to change the games like you would in a video game. So it's very good that the Chronicles of Arcane R&D team has an open mind. And that's about it, guys. Hope you liked those top 5 reasons on why you should check out Chronicles of Arcane. If you were thinking about it, or maybe you haven't thought about it yet, and you just heard about it from me. Either way, what are your thoughts on Chronicles of Arcane? Like it? Don't like it? Leave it in a comment below, because I'll be making a lot more Chronicles of Arcane videos this month and likely for the rest of the year as I give it a shot. And I am not stopping at Chronicles of Arcane. I will be checking out other card games, other indie card games as well, and even just games that haven't taken off yet. You know, games I'm just playtesting or demoing out and giving a shot. Either way, I'm back, trying to make some more card game content, so please let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.